Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir. Greetings, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you present here in today's webinar organized by Legal Specs. I will be your host for today's webinar. My name is Rita Kumari Roy from Team Legal Specs. We thank you all for taking time to join us. Legal Specs is a community of law aficionados from throughout the country who believe that law should be available to everyone as stated in the spirit of the Constitution of India. And now, on behalf of the Legal Specs, I welcome our chief guest speaker, Gururaj Sir. Sir is an assistant professor of law at Institute of Law, Nirma University, Ahmedabad. He has taught in Parul University and Anand Law College also. He has participated in various international and national level conferences and seminars and also published research papers. So now I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Sir, who is one of the most esteemed personalities. We are grateful to him for accepting our invitation. And dear participants, there are few instructions to be followed. Firstly, all the attendees are requested to mute their microphones throughout the webinar. You can ask your questions in the end of the webinar, and any kind of nuisance will not be tolerated. And last but not the least, we will be circulating a feedback form towards the end of the session. Only those who will fill the form will receive the certificate. So without any further delay, I would request to Sir for taking forward the session. Welcome, Sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rita Kumari Roy, and thank you, Team Legal Specs, for organizing this webinar, and especially Miss Ishika Garg, because it is through her I came to know about legal specs, and she had a very important role in organizing this webinar. So I'll be talking about today. Let me just share my screen here. Just a second. I hope you can see this slide, this presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, dear participants here for the webinar, and the team Legal Specs for organizing this webinar. I'll be speaking today about the impact of online digital piracy on India's film and entertainment industry. I am basically an assistant professor of law at the Institute of Law, Nirma University in Ahmedabad, and also a PhD research scholar at Gujarat National Law University, Gandhinagar in Gujarat. So, speaking about this particular topic, now we all know that most of us watch movies here. I'm sure that a person, whether he's a teenager or whether he's a senior citizen, all must have watched movies, different movies from during their lifetime, in theaters, in on television, on some today on OTT platforms. But everyone is watching movies now in India. When we specifically talk about India, there are two popular things which is very popular. There are two things which are very popular among the Indians and which we most like to do. First is watching cricket, and the second is watching movies. Now, when we talk about watching cricket and watching movies, the people involved in it, like in cricket, there are cricketers, and in movies, there are movie actors, or we call them movie stars. They have a huge fan following among their fans, not only in India but also outside India, wherever the Indian movies or the sport of cricket has reached. Now, due to this huge fan following, it is quite obvious that people who are their fans, whether, for example, if I'm a fan of a particular actor or actress, I'll try to watch that movie whenever it releases on in a theater on or on any OTT platform directly. Now, the phenomenon of OTT movies releasing directly on OTT is something which has gained momentum after the COVID-19 pandemic. But before the COVID, and even before when the movies were made, like the movies are being made for more than 100 years now, the general trend has been that the movies are released first in theaters, in a nearby theater. They are being shown there for around 1 month or 2 months, depending on the success of the film. And then it comes on some private channels, TV channels, or when there is no TV channel, there were no televisions. The disc of the film, or the DVD, or the VHS tapes of the film would come into the market. So the film would come first of all in a theater, and then it would reach to other mediums through DVDs or through television channels. But so I'll be talking about this particular topic today. Now, when we see, this is the overview of my presentation. I'll be giving an introduction of the topic, which I have already given. What is intellectual property and copyright? Why copyright is granted? The forms of piracy existing in the entertainment industry, why piracy happens, the reasons for piracy, the international legal framework on copyright protection, the Indian legal framework on copyright protection, and also I will compare it with USA and Japan, and also the enforcement and administration of copyright in India, USA, and Japan. And finally, I will be ending the presentation with conclusion and suggestions. Now, when we see the entertainment industry specifically, we can say that the entertainment industry, or the problem of piracy, has been in existence with parallelly with the entertainment industry, and the forms of piracy has changed. When we see a movie which was made around 100 years back, there has been a significant technological changes in the movie making process. Similarly, there has been a significant technological change and improvement in the way in which piracy is being done now. So it can be said that the entertainment industry, or the movie industry, and the problem of piracy have been going parallelly to each other. But across the years, the problem of piracy can be divided, or it can be classified into four broad categories. And it is very important to know that, first of all, when there was no when the phenomena of internet was not very much common, around 50-60 years back. At that time, the problem of piracy was also existing, and it was done through physical means at that time. But today, with the internet being a common phenomena all over the world, now the problem of piracy is done through digital means. I'll explain how physical and digital means have been done. So the way in which piracy is being done can be divided into four categories. First is through camcording, second through a leak, third is through decrypting DVD, and fourth is through stream ripping. I'll just give I'll show some images to you, and it will be better to understand these four types of piracy. Now, this is the image, the screenshot of a particular popular movie which released around 5-6 years back, which was Urta Punjab. And the interesting thing was, this movie, when it was submitted to the censor board, the Central Board of Film Certification for certification, from that office, it was leaked on certain websites. And it was done before the official release of the film. So here, this type of piracy is through leak or leaking. The movie has been leaked before the official release. Now, this image you can see of a particular website where all these movies and web series are available. As I mentioned about camcording and decrypting DVD and stream ripping, this image contains the piracy in all the forms. I talked about a camcording or decrypting DVD. You'll find every type of piracy existing in this image. Like if you see this particular um, uh, movie, 8 a.m. Metro, which has released in theater in the year 2023, which is a Hindi movie.
Me, sir.
Yeah,
slide is not visible.
just a second, just a second. Yeah, can you see the slide now? Yeah, is the slide
Ye-
visible?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So I think it's because I am full making the PPT full screen. That's why it's the problem. So I'll just show the PPT here. See, if you see this image, you can find all the types of piracy, forms of piracy which I mentioned in this image. For example, this particular movie, which is 8 a.m. Metro, released in 2023, which is available, which is being shown in theaters, and it is the print of the movie is has been taken from a particular theater. It has been recorded through a camera in a theater and uploaded on this particular website, and the quality is also different: 480p, 720p, and 1080p. Similarly, if there is a web series, or if there is a movie which is directly available on any OTT platform, for example Kathal, a jackfruit mystery, which is being streamed on the OTT platform Netflix. It has been taken from this particular movie is available on this website, and it has been taken from the OTT platform. Similarly, there is a web series called um, Silo, which is available on Apple TV Plus. It has also been available. It is also available on this website. So this shows that not only movies but even web series are also being pirated and also being made available. Similarly, if you see a particular web series, it is also available on this website. Okay, just to give you an example as to, I also mentioned about decrypting DVDs as a form of piracy. Now, this particular image which you see here has been taken from a torrent website, and there are different movies available on this torrent website. And the source of the movie is the official DVD which is released in the market. For example, if you see here, October 2006, you can see that the movie has been taken from the official disc, official DVD, which is available in the market. Similarly, when we talk about certain award functions where the movies are nominated, like there are popular awards like Academy Awards, Oscars, the BAFTA Awards, or the Golden Globes Award, or at the national level, there exist certain popular awards like the National Film Awards or the Filmfare Awards. Now, when a particular film is nominated to these award functions, to the award shows in certain popular categories, when it wins that particular award, there is a significant increase in the piracy or illegal piracy of that particular movie. For example, this year in 2023, the best Academy Award for the best film, best picture, went to Everything Everywhere All at Once. And when the nominations were announced, if you see this image, when the nominations were announced in January 2023 this year, this was the level of illegal piracy of the film. It was illegally watched or downloaded. This much was the level of piracy. And on 12th of March 2023, when it was declared a winner, on 13th of March, there has been a significant increase in the level of piracy. And also it can be compared at the best film, the award for the film which has won the best picture award for best picture, as compared to other nominations. There has been a significant increase which can be seen from this image. So there has been a around 200% increase in the level of piracy of that particular film as compared to other nominations which did not have much increase because they did not win the award, they were only nominated. This is also a particular screenshot of a popular website, which was Tamil Rockers, which ultimately came to a halt. But there are other platforms which are making available the content available on Tamil Rockers on their platforms. So this is the image of that particular website. Now, what is intellectual property and what is copyright? Broadly, intellectual property covers all the creations or all the works which are created with the skill and labor of human brain. It can be either an idea, it can be either an invention, technological invention, or any artwork, or a musical work, or a literature work, which is existing in an intangible form, and when it is created, but it gains tangibility based on the product or on the based on the final product. For example, the idea of a film or idea of a music, unless there are musical notes or it comes into a particular film or music in an album, it remains intangible. But when it comes as a film, as part of a film or as a part of a particular music album or a particular studio album, it gains tangibility. So that is what intellectual property is broadly. There are various forms of intellectual property, but broadly, intellectual property can be classified into two categories. First is industrial property and copyright. Now, industrial properties are those properties which are created with the human brain, created with the help of human brain and intellect, but their major application is are in industries. For example, patents or utility models or trademark, geographical indications, all these are industrial properties. As compared to copyright, there is another form of intellectual property is copyright. Now, copyright is something which majorly is granted for creative works. For example, musical work, literary work, artistic work, cinematograph, film, sound recording, computer programs, all these, for all the works, copyright is granted. So, copyright is a form of intellectual property which is granted for creative works, for protection of creative works. Now, as per the WIPO convention, intellectual property covers all these forms, all these works, whether it is a literary, artistic, and scientific work, performance of performing artist, phonograms and broadcast, inventions in all fields of human endeavor, scientific discoveries, industrial designs, trademark, service mark, and commercial names and designations, protection against unfair competition, and all other rights resulting from intellectual activity in the industrial, scientific, literary, and artistic fields. Now, when we talk about copyright as a form of intellectual property, for what all works copyright can be granted, the subject matter of copyright can be, or all these works like literary, dramatic, or musical works, not being a computer program or computer program, artistic works, cinematograph, film, and sound recording. For all these works, a copyright is granted, and the term of copyright protection is usually in India, it is life of the author plus 60 years. So after the death of the author, the copyright will exist in the work for 60 years from the date of death. Now, why copyright protection is necessary? There are various justifications or various theories for granting copyright protection. There are majorly four theories for copyright protection. First is labor theory. As we all know that copyright is something which is created with the human intellect and human labor. To protect the labor, it is necessary that copyright should be granted. So, by way of copyright protection, it is not the society which is being benefited, but it is copyright is something which protects the labor of the creator. So, the creator who has created the work to protect, in order to protect his or her labor, because he has exercised so much labor and pain and or financial resources to create that work, whether it is a musical work, artistic work, or sonograph film, to create that labor, to protect that labor, copyright protection should be granted. That is the justification. As compared to labor theory, there is a second theory which is personality theory. Now, personality theory is a very unique theory because it assumes that whenever a work is created, for example, if there is a musical work and the musical work has been created by A.R. Rahman, for example, the musical work will contain or it will be a reflection of the personality of the creator. So there will be some intricacies or there will be some areas where the musical work or the created work will reflect the personality of the creator. For example, if a same musical work has been created by by two individuals, different individuals, the way in which they create the work will be different. And also because the work which is created is basically a reflection of the personality of the creator. Therefore, the justification for granting copyright here is to protect the personality of the individual. It is necessary to grant copyright protection. So that is the second justification, or another justification for granting copyright protection, to protect the personality of the creator. Third justification is economic incentive theory, because the person has who has created the work, he has used so much economic resources, or he has expended his economic resources and financial resources to create that work. And when a copyright is granted in that work, he has an exclusive monopoly, a limited exclusive monopoly for that work. So, economic incentive theory justifies the grant of copyright protection based on the economic gains or financial gains which a creator will have by exploitation of that work. So, in order to have a financial uphold or financial gain as compared to other persons, therefore, economic incentive theory assumes that the creator should have a monopoly so that he can recover the economic or financial expenditure, whatever he has done to create that work. Fourth theory assumes social requirement theory, assumes that the grant of copyright protection is not for the creator, but it is for the society at large. So, by granting a work copyright protection, it is the society which will be benefited and not the creator. So these are the various justifications for granting of copyright, and each have their own assumptions. There is no single reason for granting copyright. There are. It can be said that at present, copyright protection is basically a combination of all these theories. There are protection of labor theory, also personality theory, also economic incentive to have an economic incentive for the creator, and also to meet the social requirement of the society. These are the various justifications for copyright. Now, as I said, piracy has been in existence since the existence of entertainment industry, and the forms of piracy has changed from physical piracy to digital piracy. Initially, home video was a major reason in 1980s or 1990s, if you see, with the coming of with the advent of television and home video, cable television. The Hindi entertainment industry or even the Indian films had a major drawback or major setback because of home video or cable television. Similarly, in 2000s and in by the end of 1990s, cable television was a popular medium for watching pirated content, where the cable operators would show illegal movies, or there were some video parlors which showed or which made available these illegal movies at a very reasonable cost. Third type of piracy which existed was bootlegging, where when the movie was being shown in a theater, it was illegally recorded, or even there were some private theaters which showed the movie legally, but even though it was through some official television, official broadcasting, but the theater did not have necessary permissions to show the film. So that was a bootlegging. Another way of bootlegging was when the movie was being sent to, for example, for certification to the censor board, or when the copy of the film is being sent overseas, or when the film is at the post production stage and sound mixing and dubbing at dubbing stage. At that time, the illegal recording has been done and it has been made available. By the end of 1990s, another form of piracy which was very popular in USA and in other developed countries was torrenting. You must have heard about Napster, and which was basically a torrent uh, P2P torrenting website which made available musical works of the creators. And it was an illegal torrenting website because the when the files were being shared, it did not have the necessary permissions from the music labels or from the music companies, and it was illegally being done. So torrenting is also a popular means of sharing this content. Now today, torrenting has minimized, but there are several websites where this piracy is existing. There are several websites where not only movies but also web series and web shows are available for piracy. Apart from online websites, there are certain other mediums also, like Google Drive is also being used for piracy. Telegram applications like Telegram or WhatsApp or cloud storage applications like Mega are also being used for piracy. Just to give you an idea as to the piracy types of release types, these are the various forms or types of piracy. For example, cantrip, TS, pre-DVD standard print, DVD rip, HDTV rip print, WebDL, and BD rip. I'll just show you an image, and you can see this image. It comprises of almost all the types of piracy release type. You'll find HDTV print also. You'll find a standard print also, or 1080p print also, and all these the content is from either the theater when the movie is released in the theater, or when the movie is available on some OTT platform. Now, just to give you an idea as to what all contents are available, not only movies are available for piracy, or only pirated content or the pirated movies are released, but even uh, Hollywood movies, regional movies are also available. If you see this image, Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, Punjabi, Kannada film, even Pakistani films are all available, Bhojpuri films are available, even television shows which are available. You can find it on some websites. Musical works are available, even some ebooks are available. Games and applications or softwares are available for piracy. Now, why this piracy happens? Why people download pirated content? There are various reasons for this behavior. First is technology and logistical considerations, because when a person who is located in a far off place, in a very rural area, who do not have a theater nearby, or if he has to watch a movie, he has to travel around 200, 300 kilometers from his place. Due to this logistical consideration, as everyone has a mobile phone, they use that mobile phone and they download such content which is available to them. Either it will be on YouTube, or there will be some other websites or links which will be shared to them, and they can download such content. Similarly, the lack of effective, stringent technological and legal measures. As we all know that in between law and technology, technology is something which is changing rapidly, and the lawmakers or the law is not able to keep pace with it, with the change in technology. Therefore, in law and technology, technology is something which is changing rapidly. So, due to these technological changes, the law is not able to keep pace with it, or the legal measures which are existing today will not be able to keep pace, or they will not be effective in around 2 or 3 years, because the technology is changing so fast. Now, due to this lack of legal measures, they are not effective in the sense, and therefore it acts as a hindrance for reducing the piracy behavior. Third reason why piracy happens is there is an imbalance between the demand and supply in the market conditions. Now, there is an urge of watching movies. Now, if a particular person is told that you can watch this particular movie, for example, if I tell a person that Adipurush has been released and you can watch the movie in a theater around 300 rupees per person. If there are four members in his family, he has to see the cost of each ticket. He has to also consider the cost of traveling to that particular theater for watching the movie. Whatever food or drinks he spends money on, he has to consider the price of that also. So considering all this price and even the time, depending on the time which he has to invest for watching that particular movie or web series. Depending on that, and if he has to spend around 3,000 or 4,000 rupees for each movie in a month, then in that case, he will. And if I tell a person that instead of watching the movie in a theater, you can download it at your convenience from a particular website, and it will take around half an hour to download, and you can watch it whenever you want. So if the movie is of 3 hours, he can watch for 1 hour today, 1 hour tomorrow, and 1 hour a day after tomorrow. So this is the convenience which he has. And also there is a demand imbalance in demand and supply. As I said, there are not only movies today are available, but people also have a craving for web series which are available. There are plethora of ott platforms: Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, or Shimaro, everything. And every web platform is coming up with so many content that there is an imbalance in the demand and supply. So people would not wait, or they would not prefer to watch the movie in a theater. Rather, they would wait to watch the movie when it comes on some OTT platform after 2 3 months, because they have a convenience of watching the movie whenever it comes, and they also have a convenience of watching it with their family in their at their homes. So that imbalance is also one of the reason why piracy is existing. Also, there is an unawareness about copyright laws. A general person, unless the person has some law information or information about the laws existing, about the copyright laws in general, he will not download, or a person will be downloading content because he does not have much information about copyright law. Another reason why piracy exists is the increased and affordable internet speeds. Now, because of 4G and 5G speeds, everyone has access to so many content, whether it is of a website, or whether it is of social media networks, or whether it is of some illegal content. All these illegal content are available for free downloading or for free watching, accessing. And it can be made, if a person has to download an illegal movie on some website, he can download it at a fast speed. So due to this, people would prefer to watch, or they would like to use the internet package which they have for downloading such illegal content. Now, talking about the international legal framework existing on copyright protection, it can be divided broadly into uh, uh, two phases. First of all, before the coming of TRIPS, what has been the scenario, and after the coming of TRIPS, what has been the scenario. TRIPS is something, the trade related aspects of intellectual property is basically an agreement which covers every form of piracy. It is a substantial, and it is a most comprehensive and substantial international instrument on intellectual property, because it does not only talk about copyright, it does not only talk about patent, but any form of intellectual property is covered in TRIPS. So TRIPS is a major international instrument, and before the coming of TRIPS, these were the international instruments existing: Berne Convention from 1886 to Universal Copyright Convention. I have covered only those conventions which are related to copyright protection. So therefore, I have not covered Paris Convention 1883, Berne Convention 1883, UCC, Rome Convention, Geneva Convention, and Brussels Convention. These were the conventions which are existing before the coming of TRIPS, and everything talked about copyright in some form or the other. After the coming of TRIPS in 1995, there were certain developments, and there have been new conventions also and treaties also which have been adopted. First is the Internet Treaty. Now, when we talk about the Internet Treaty, there are two major treaties covered here. First is the WCT and the WPPT. WCT basically stands for the WIPO Copyright Treaty, 1996, and the second is WPPT, WIPO Phonograms and Performers Treaty, 1996, which basically covers, which grants protection for the performances and phonograms of the producers and broadcasting organizations. Similarly, in 2010, there was another treaty, which was the Beijing Treaty on audiovisual performances. Now, if there is any audiovisual performances, all these performances are protected under the Beijing Treaty. So these are the developments at the international level, pre and post TRIPS. Now, when we talk about India, in the Indian legal framework, and when we compare it with USA and Japan, in India, the copyright protection at present is granted by the Copyright Act of 1957. But before 1957 Act, there were several other legislations also. Like the first act in India for copyright protection was in 1847. The second was the Imperial Copyright Act of 1911. Third was the Copyright Act of 1914, which was adopted from the British Copyright Act of 1914. And finally, the 1957 Act. The 1957 Act has been amended quite a few times in 1983, 1984, 1994, 1999, and 2012. These are the various amendments which have been done. The 2012 amendment was specifically focusing on the entertainment industry for cover version and for royalty basis. I have not discussed much about that particular amendment, but these are the major amendments on the Copyright Act of 1957. When we talk of USA and Japan, in USA the first act on copyright protection was in 1790, then 1909 Act, Sound Recording Act of 1971, 1976, and major development in copyright protection came with the DMCA, which is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998, and finally with the Unlocking Technology Act, which basically covers cyber lockers and other technologies of 2015. In Japan, at present, Japanese Copyright Act of 1917 is something which is covering copyright protection for creative works, and before that, the 1899 Copyright Act was granting protection for copyrighted works. Now, when we talk about the enforcement and administration of copyright in India, why enforcement is something which is necessary? Because in India, most of the laws are very good on paper, or they have very excellent provisions. But where the Indian laws are lacking is basically with respect to the enforcement. They are not better. They are not enforced in a better manner, or there is some technical lag in enforcement because of which the provisions are not very effective. Now, when we talk about India, USA, and Japan, there are three ways in which enforcement can be done. It is through legislative measures, non-legislative measures, and judicial measures. Now, when we talk about the Copyright Act of India, USA, and Japan, we can see that there are specific provisions for the enforcement of copyright and the administration of copyright in these three countries' legislation. When we talk about non-legislative measures, it is basically through copyright societies, which is we can see in this table. So in India, there are certain copyright societies which have been registered, like the Indian Performing Rights Society (IPRS), the IRRO, ISRA, and the RMPL. These are the some copyright societies which are registered in India. In USA and Japan, copyright societies are known as collecting societies. So, collecting societies registered in USA and Japan are the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, the Broadcast Music Incorporation, Sound Exchange, Music Reports, and in Japan, these are the registered copyright collecting societies which are registered in Japan. So, the copyright enforcement or enforcement of copyright through collecting society or copyright society is also something which is effectively done. The another way of enforcement of and administration of copyright is through the high courts or the courts in these countries. Now, in India, USA, and Japan, there are specific cases uh, uh, where courts have been approached for granting remedies for effective protection against movie piracy or music piracy. These are some of the important cases which I have covered. The first case, which I would like to just mention, this case, UTV Software Communications case, which was decided by the Delhi High Court in 2019. This was the first case where Delhi High Court granted dynamic injunction for protection of movies, and similarly there were other cases where the remedy has been effectively applied. Now, just to give you an idea as to the way in which the courts in India have granted remedies, you can see all the major movies have been protected by the courts, like whether it is Brahmastra or whether it is Vikram Veda or whether it is Bhuj film of Ajay Devgan or Ram Setu. The websites where these movies are available have been blocked by the courts, and the ISPs, the internet service providers, have been directed to block access to these websites. But again, there are certain problems with these remedies, which I just conclude here, that the Indian courts have mostly granted interim injunction. But the problem is When a film producer approaches the court for granting for protection of his film, he is satisfied with the grant of interim injunction. So he does not take up the matter till the final decision. And the court also, whether it is the Delhi High Court or Bombay High Court, they grant an interim injunction, interim order, and they do not finally decide the matter. So this grant of interim injunction is something which is problematic because at every stage, or whether it is every film which is coming up before the courts and the film producers are satisfied with the grant of interim injunction. And also, when we talk about these websites, the courts have, in all the cases, blocked these websites, but they have not tried to order the police or the IT officials to track the people who are coming up with certain websites. Also, again, there are certain perpetrators who are not caught by the police or by the courts. And based on this conclusion, these are certain suggestions which I have given that the VPNs, the clarification of the position of VPN should be done. Now, what is VPN basically? VPN is something where, for example, if a particular website is blocked by the court or by the uh, ministry, by the telecom agency, then in that case, by downloading a particular VPN, by enabling a VPN, that particular website can be accessed, whether it is a pornographic website or whether it is a illegal movie website. All this can be accessed. And because what VPN does it basically changes my location. So my location will not be shown of India, it will be shown of some other country where the particular website is not blocked. Similarly, there is another suggestion which I would like to give is revoking of the IT Act should be done, because IT Act was enacted in 2000, around 23 years back, and at that time there was not much information technology. The development of information technology what was very at a nascent stage at that time. But today, around 2 decades, after 2 decades, there has been a significant change in the information technology, and therefore there should be some major reworking of the IT Act to enforce to make it more effective, and also there should be an adoption of a PPP model for multimedia campaigning. Also, there should be an anti-cam frauding legislation which will specifically focus on penalizing anti-cam frauding behavior. There should be IPDs to deal with IP matters in various high courts, and there should be also correcting of the MIPCU or TIPCU framework, which is basically adopted by the Maharashtra and Telangana government. And also there should be tackling of piracy through international cooperation, because mostly what happens is the people who are doing piracy are basically not in India. They are based out of India, and it is very difficult to catch hold of them because the Indian laws are not applicable outside India. Therefore, it is necessary that the Indian lawmakers, or there should be some international cooperation or bilateral agreements by which the real perpetrator should be caught. Also, there should be some initiatives taken up by the Ministry of Home Affairs to combat the online piracy. And also, there should be financial transparency for intermediaries, and there should be best practices for digital payment services and advertising network. And the intermediary guidelines of 2021 should be amended. And also, the Cyber Surakshit Bharat initiative of the Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology should be amended. And also, there should be some proposal in the draft security guidelines for mobile devices and services. So, with this, I end my presentation, and I'm open to any suggestions or observations or any queries by the participants.
We are open to questions. If anyone has any question, kindly raise your hand or mention it in chat box. So there is a query in chat box. Can pirated content harmful for my PC and mobile?
Yes, it can be. It can be depending on the source where you are downloading. Like there are certain uh, applications, there are certain websites where they knowingly inject some viruses or some Trojan virus on these files, and when you play it on your particular device, this illegal content or these viruses coming into your particular device, whether it is a mobile phone or the whatever personal information you have, whether it is of credit card or whatever payments you have on your mobile phones or on your laptop, all this personal information will be available for to these perpetrators. So that is also a risk which is very existing. But this risk is something which the people do not consider when they are downloading illegal content, because their major focus is to watch this illegal content at the cost of their leak of the personal information also. Yes, a person can be arrested on piracy, and even in fact, there was a major proposal in the parliament in 2019 where amendment was proposed in the Cinematograph Act of 1952, whereby new provisions were suggested to be added, and if a person is illegally recording a film on a mobile device. Now, what happens is basically if a particular movie is released, most people do is what when they go to watch a particular movie, they download or they record certain portions, some important portions of the movie, and they make it as a story of WhatsApp or Instagram or some Snapchat. Now, due to this, as such, it is not piracy, or it cannot be termed as piracy, because they are only recording it only few portion or few minutes of the movie. But even if that is done under this new law, under this new amended provision, it will be considered as piracy, and the person can be jailed for around 5 years, for 3 years, and a fine of 10 lakh rupees can also be imposed on.
The other question is, how is the compensation amount decided for the infringement of the original artist producer awarded?
Now, usually this compensation is not given. Like mostly, what happens is when this producer, at what stage they approach is basically when the movie is ready for release, and within 1 or 2 days the film is available on some OTT platforms, or sorry, on some illegal websites. At that stage, the producer is approaching the court. Now, compensation is granted when the person who has leaked the film is known. If the court knows that so and so person has released the film on this website, he has illegally recorded and has made available it on some website. But usually, what happens is the real persons who are running the website or who is making available such such content, such movies, are not caught. What happens is the court usually grants a blocking order and directs the internet service provider like Google, Yahoo, and other internet service providers, and the TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority, and even the Ministry of Telecommunications are directed to block these illegal websites, so that any person in India will not access that particular illegal website. Now, compensation, usually what happens is compensation is decided based on the commercial value of the film. So, if the film is of such a value that it has released at a very large scale, or when the movie has made so many such business that or the business of the film has been affected to a considerable extent, then considering uh, 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 the finances which have been put for the film, for making the film, and the financial loss which the producer has incurred, all this is considered, and then the compensation amount is determined and directed to be paid to the producer.
are there any issues to tackle the factors like poverty that results in promotion of pirated content?
Um, can you just repeat the question again?
Are there any issues to tackle the factors like poverty that results in promotion of pirated content?
See, what I understand is basically it is very difficult for any country, whether it is India or even USA. It is very difficult for the legislators or the lawmakers to convince people to stop downloading pirated content or stop watching illegal content. Now, the reason is basically now, unless the person is a law graduate or he has some information about law, what he thinks is whatever content is available online is free and they can download it, they can watch it, or they can use it for their own content. But that is not the case, and therefore it is very difficult to convince people to not to do piracy, and it is very difficult for the lawmakers to convince them to buy original product. Yes, Amit, you can ask your question.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. First of all, it was a very nice session which you have conducted. So my question is that Telegram is a messaging app, but nowadays, like 90% of the privacy links are shared on Telegram. So why does Telegram is not taking proper actions on that? This is my question.
The reason is why Telegram, because they have very the DRM protection or the protection on this Telegram is very very easy to break. For example, when you uninstall Telegram, it is very easy to delete messages also, because even though it is end-to-end encrypted, you can delete the message. Even when you create a group on Telegram, you can delete the group without knowing what all messages were there in the group. So, because due to that nature of Telegram, it is very difficult for the lawmakers. But recently, like around 2 3 years back, also the Telegram has the courts in India have started issuing summons to Telegram, and they have directed Telegram to whenever there is any pirated link which is shared in a group, they have directed Telegram to disclose the details of the people who are members of the group, and or the person disclose the details of the person who has shared the group link details in the link in the group. All this is being done now, but I think Telegram will be considered, and Telegram will be coming up before the courts in some time, or the courts will consider Telegram as a major threat for piracy, and they will start issuing more summons to Telegram, because it is not only piracy or the movie piracy which is done on Telegram. There are other forms of piracy also. There are ebooks which are available. There are also some softwares which are available on Telegram, because the problem with Telegram is they have increased limit as compared to WhatsApp, and also there is an increased limit for file sharing. Around you can share around 4 to 5 GB of files on Telegram. So due to this problem, due to this enhanced technological limit, Telegram has been escaping the scope of law. But I think they will come up before the courts in some years. Yes, are there any other questions?
Thank you very much, sir. It's a great honor that you are chief guest speaker for today's webinar. And thank you everyone for making this event a huge success. And one more information that we are conducting a quiz on 24th. The topic is Indian Penal Code. So you all can attend the quiz as well. Thank you very much and kindly fill the feedback form for receiving the certificate.
Okay, thank you.